Perfect. It's been really wonderful talking to you and getting a sense of your journey and how you engaged with Good Morning Portugal before and now coming to the meetup as well. So you know where we are on a Wednesday.
Yes, I do.
And you know where we are as a community. So make sure we stay in touch, please.
Well, thank you for your efforts in bringing this community together, because you make it easier, more comfortable, less stressful for all of us.
Oh, thank you.
By facilitating this.
Oh, that's lovely to hear.
Thank you.
Oh, it's a pleasure. Absolute pleasure. Lovely to hear that. Thank you very much indeed.
Good evening, Portugal. Yes, it's Mrs. M. Otherwise known, I do actually have a real name. It's Louisa Tadabunson. Anyway, I am here and I'm guessing you already know that I've got a top guest tonight who's also having a wee drink with me. And it's Veronica from American in Portugal. Now, if you've checked out her channel, which is really amazing and it's informative and it's lively and it's sassy, then you'll know that Veronica is somebody who really likes to really share. She's very, very open-hearted, very warm, full of great advice and lots of energy. So we've been like chatting behind the scenes for about a month or so, trying to find a date where we can get together and just have a girly chat. You know, it's great having her on the show once a month, you know, with Carl and Carl Hyde, where we talk about property. But I just really wanted to find out a little bit more about what makes Veronica tick, a little bit about how she came to be living in the Algarve in Portugal, about her journey, and then just to really like see where this goes. I'm pretty sure everyone that's watching tonight, I'm pretty sure you want to get more up close and personal with both of us. So just pop in your questions in the chat room. We'll invite you. We just really invite any of your comments, and I think it's going to be a really light-hearted, fun night of migration mischief. So let's bring her on, shall we?
Hello, and cheers. Oh, yes, wait, my glass is going to just... Oh, I should put a night shot on. Hello, cheers. Can I
Hello,
cheers?
I'm cheersing you.
Cheers to all our friends. If you're winos, and by the way, I am breaking my no alcohol January to have wine with my girlfriend. But it's been 20 days. That's got to be good by now, right?
Yeah, well, I say me too, but I only actually started it on Sunday, so I'm just breaking like 5 days. But I will be back. 5
days. Good
job.
Yeah,
I'm going to be back not drinking again soon. Yeah. But Carl brought this home. I mean, this is some of the things we can talk about actually.
Yeah, let's talk about wine.
I love being in Portugal because we get so much great wine and it's such a good price as well. And obviously we don't do the wine night that Carl does on a monthly basis, but
he does a wine night?
Yeah, once a month.
In person or...
He does a wine night with lots of winos, fellow drinkers, and they pick a wine and they review it all together.
Online?
First Monday.
We need our girls' wine nights.
This is the start of many. So anyway, welcome to everyone that's joining us. I can see there's quite a few people already, and we've got some chats in the chat. There's some comments in the chat room. So let's welcome everyone to our show. So we've got David Perkins saying, "Hey Veronica, hope you're well." And then Jean, oh, it's so nice that you're here finally. Jean has just moved over to the Algarve. So she's actually in our time zone now. Hola Louisa Veronica, boa noite, do lindo.
And she's Moncarapaccio.
Yeah,
so you're in our group for AFPOP as well. A lot of expats are up in the beautiful hills just above Tavira and Oleal there. It's gorgeous.
I think this is Mr. M. What is lady stuff?
Oh,
know what we're going to be talking about.
Are you allowed to be online with us now?
You'll have to listen to find out. We've got Darren from the UK. Oh, it's ladies' night, is it? Yes, it is. Ask us anything. We've got, who've we got? Fran899. Hello from UK. Looking forward to joining you guys when we buy a house in Portugal. Cheers.
Yay.
Do you know who Fran is?
I don't. Fran, where are you looking to buy? Are you going to be up or on the Central Coast or down south? So
yeah, because we're living, Carl and I, we're living on the Silver Coast, which is halfway down, right on the, we're bracing the Atlantic, just a little bit north of Lisbon, and Veronica's right in the Algarve, so we can get you some advice on those areas. But let us know. We've also got Sour Salsi. Hello, hi, Veronica from Pennsylvania.
hello. I love all of you guys, and I love that you actually read my newsletter, so this is online. I've been so busy editing our earlier show that I didn't put out enough, I think, links. And so I'll put them out after the fact. But it's nice you could join us because Pennsylvania, you're, 10,
Quite a few
11?
hours behind.
Yeah, well, yeah, because it's so weird how you can do this. So in California, this could totally blow your brain, right? There's an 8-hour time difference. So what you do is you add 4. Does that make sense?
Oh, yeah, because 12 hours.
So
Yeah.
if it's 9 here, 10, 11, 12, 1 in California, it's 1 p.m., 1 in the afternoon, and then 2 in the Central Time and 3 on Eastern Time.
Wow. That's useful to know. I'm always going to timeanddate.com and looking up their meeting planner, but that's really good. I'll remember that. So Fran's she's wanting to go to the Central Coast. So drop us your questions and, we'll do our best to answer. But anyway, whilst we're waiting for some questions to come in, let's just have a little sip of wine. And Veronica, I want to find out, how did you come to live in Portugal? Did it take you a long time to decide? And, how long did it take you from when you decided to move to when you arrived? And kind of, let's just see where this conversation goes.
So it all began with a wanderlust background, right? So I grew up, we didn't have a lot of money, but we were very rich in travel. My parents always found a way, whether it was timeshare or hopping in the car and just going somewhere. We were always traveling as a family. And my grandparents had lived in Germany, so I got to go there a couple of times. And we even flew alone at like 11 and 12 years old, and even had to transition in Frankfurt before that, gorgeous Munich airport was built. And my sister and I, my parents, that's when you could go to the gate. So you deliver the gate and there you go, and you're off. And so I think there's always kind of been that wanderlust. And always the Americans, we have such a love for Europe and the history. And it's such a dream to visit Europe. So to get to live in Europe is that even next level, like to say, I chose to retire early and live in Europe. It's a dream. It's not just kind of this might be a good idea. It's really special. And so we started looking at ways we could retire early. And in California, our tax rates are really high. We have a federal tax, state tax, property tax, sales tax. And when you do the math, you're netting out maybe 30 or 40% of your income, because even after you pay the tax, you spend money on something and you're taxed on it. And it's like, it's this continual tax, another road tax, and a tax on your car vehicle, every year, $500 or $600 on your car to pay for the roads, but then you're taxed on the roads when you pay for your gas, but then you're already taxed on your money that was taxed. And it gets to a point where you go, when are we going to be able to retire? Because you look at the future of your property tax going up with the price of your property. And in California, I had a little house in Newport Beach that went up $200,000 or $300,000 in a matter of years. Then moved to Los Angeles, had a property that actually went up $1 million. And you just know, there's some stop gaps, of it going 2% a year or whatever, the Prop 13 laws are. But at some point you still look at it and you go, even if we retire, we're going to be taxed. We need to just cut loose now and find a way to live smaller instead of making more and getting taxed more. So we just said, okay, where can we live? Where's possible in Europe? We knew we wanted Europe. I really want to say that Portugal is not the lowest cost place to live. I think it's really important that a lot of people that are reaching out to me think it's cheap. It's not the lowest cost place to live. There's, Mexico, Belize, Ecuador. There's a lot of countries that are kind of third world that you can live. But Portugal is a place you can live in Europe that's one of the lower cost places in Europe. And it's, got the safety index for super safe, English proficiency, all the things we kind of covered this morning, channel. And, we looked at everything and we just thought, well, let's go take some trips. And we did our exploration trips and we went to Portugal and we looked north to south. And because I'm a Southern California girl, I need that sunshine and beach. Yeah. And if you look at a map of Portugal, that Atlantic really can get some cool breeze and more rain. Yeah. And that's why even in the Algarve, so the Algarve is the furthest south. It's not completely south, but it's like the bottom quarter of the country. And on the west, Sagres, you get these huge, beautiful waves and you get the stunning cliff lines where they're just broken by that wind and the cliffs. And it's gorgeous, but it was too cold for me. And Porto was beautiful and I loved it. It was too cold for me. Lisbon, I loved the vibrancy. It was a little too big. I wanted small town. I'm like feeling like the Three Bears story. One's too big, one's too small. One's too cold. So ended up looking in the Algarve and the East Algarve, and we knew we were going to be in the East Algarve. So we sold the house, made money on the house. We're going to live off the equity, a retirement pension, some funds from my grandmother that she'd left me, our savings, and we would be fine because we did the math that we would sell a lot of equity in the house, put cash down on a place here. But unfortunately, during the move, my husband passed away. So we had, it was huge. And, a lot of people kind of go, you're very brave. That was such a big move to move forward. And I tell people it was actually easier to move forward with the plan than to, at that stage in life, try to course correct everything. I mean, the house was sold. I was renting back. We were renting back. And then I was renting back. I was able to extend it a little bit longer. And the car had already been shipped. Everything was in motion. And I thought, okay, well, I'm going to stick with the motion. Clearly, there's a lot of things that need to be done, and went with it. And there's some times you do go, did I make the right decision? Was this the right thing to do? And then COVID hit and you go, oh my gosh, it was the right thing to do. And some of the political drama that was going on. And you kind of go, I did make the right decision. And this phase from kind of loneliness and not knowing anybody. And there weren't really any big expat things 6 years ago. So Louisa, you were also here 6 years ago, right? So
5.5 we got here. Yeah.
I say 6 I'm going on 6. So it was 2017.
Yeah, same here. We arrived in September 2017.
We were very similar then because I was September, October. Yeah. So, having things cost less, even though we had military insurance, my husband was in the military, we had military health insurance. Still coming over here, I bought a plan for $50 a month, and it was just so much easier than even using the military plan, which when you go global, it's at a 75% coverage. And we've got plans that you just go in and pay 2 or 3, €5 for visits. So I think that's one of the big things for most Americans is that they can sell the house and not have to make as much money. So if you've got savings, if you're looking future forward towards retiring, and a lot of people can retire at 55, if you're a civil servant or a teacher or, a lot of these careers, but what's holding them back is the healthcare cost. They're waiting until they hit 62. And then that's Medicare, which isn't even fabulous, right? So finding out they can move here and in that age range, pay 100, 150 a month for like some of the best health insurance. And then you do have the safety net of public insurance. But to move here with the D7, you need to show that you're insured. So,
I mean, it's amazing how many people I've heard, coming from America. We were saying that we were paying for family health insurance, like for top-notch health insurance. In fact, Carl was just talking to Nunu from the insurance company, whose name I've just forgotten. Hopefully Carl will put it into the chat in a second. But like, we were paying top notch for their like highest insurance for a family of 5, and it was less than what an American would pay for one person. And Americans are just like stunned, because that's such a huge cost, isn't it?
It really is, because there'll be people, you can even have your employer covering health insurance for you, and you've got a certain amount that you've also got to pay, and it can be $400, $500, $600, even though your company's paying as well.
Yeah.
Oh, 65 is Medicare age. Oh, so it went up from 62 to 65. Yeah. 62. Right. Well, first it was 55 to retire. Then it was 62. Then did it go to 65 before 72? I don't know. They keep kicking the can. And, you know, look at my story. Tomorrow's not promised, man. You got to do it now. You know, you can always course correct. You can always go home.
Yeah. I mean, because, I mean, you're young. You don't expect to be, you know, sorry to talk about it, but I don't suppose
no, it's life.
Like, that's what, 5 years ago?
Yeah. So I can accept and talk through it now. You know, the first few years, you're just in tears every time something's brought up, and people just want to know, oh, what happened? And let's talk about your story. And I'm like, number one, I don't even know you. And number two, I'm going to break out in tears in public. And you know, once I get to know you, if you really want to know, we'll sit down and have a coffee chat and go through the particulars. But I say it's kind of like sea glass or broken glass. Like in the beginning, you feel just this cutting pain all the time. Like you just keep getting sliced open with like if you just were to break a bottle and step on it. And in time, it gets rounded and softer. The edges are getting softer and softer. And I haven't got to the point yet where it's sea glass. You know, it still hurts, but it's not as sharp. It's not as cutting. I think that love will always be there, and respect, and the dang, why didn't we do it sooner? And, you know, those kinds of thoughts.
Wow. So thank you for, you know, just being like so like real, because you're right, none of us know what's around the corner, and you made that decision to come over anyway.
Everything was already done. It's just there to when you're in that mindset, to completely change at that point is near impossible. I mean, you're just not. And because my husband was military, there are multiple funerals across the United States. And then, you know, I ended up kind of being a nomad for a little bit, and going to visit my sister and my daughter. And because my daughter's also in the military, so, you know, she was on the East Coast, and we, you know, our family had already, because of the military, been kind of sprayed around a few different places.
So before we go any further, can I just say hello to a few people, because you're getting quite a few people saying, hey.
Oh, yeah, and starting out so like
there's so many people who just really absolutely want to say hello to you. Yeah, there's Carl here saying, more chatters here. So we've got Nubionette, hola chicas. So she's from, she's in California at the moment. That's Carl saying good night to everyone. And he's already said hello. We've got Jacqueline CDM. Now Jacqueline, she's moved around quite a bit. She's lived in France, and now she's living in Portugal, just down the road actually. Boa noite, Jacqueline. Jean saying, yeah, there is the cost of US healthcare. Totally, you know, like validating what you're saying. Sarah saying the health system in the USA is the worst in the world. That's pretty definitive there. Jean saying, when I decided to start looking outside the US, Portugal just kept coming up on top of the list in every category. Distant second place, Vietnam. My goodness. So this morning you met Portuglish, didn't you, on our morning show? So he's saying, Louisa, Ronnie.
Yeah, Ronnie, how did you know? That was my nickname in high school.
Jean. He's welcoming everyone. Newbie, everyone. So he's here for a good fun evening. We've got Jacqueline Branco. Jacqueline's been here. How many years have you been here now, Jacqueline? Jacqueline has been here almost a lifetime. So she's very experienced in living in Portugal. We've got OLP, Oregonians Loving Portugal. 65 is Medicare age.
Oregonians living in Portugal. Oh, we have to connect because I have some people from Oregon who have moved here.
Excellent. I think OLP, as we know OLP, I think OLP is actually packing up at the moment. It's not here yet. Carl's just said that knows the insurance that we have. It's Winsurance, and there's the details if you want to book anything. Now, David Perkins is saying, how costly is health insurance for those over 70?
Okay, so there's a plan called MGen.
Yes, that's the one we've got.
Yeah, MGen. Yeah. So maybe you can. Yeah, so there's different levels, and some of the ones won't take you under, like the general ones. Like if you're under 70, they'll sign you up, and then if you turn 70 while you're on the plan, you keep that plan. But if you don't get it before you're 70, then you're in another one. And you know what? We can look that up. If you go to any cuts or anything, I'll look it up and then I'll tell you, because there's different levels of plans. And I have the one that was sent to me by AFPOP, but other people may have different ones. So it's nothing like America. It's, you're talking of a difference. I think it was $200 a month. I'll have to look it up.
We had a family insurance with somebody that was 83 and who had lots of health problems and difficulties, David. And I think our family insurance, when we had our elderly friend on the insurance with us, it was 465, and her liability for the top-notch cover, I think, was about 265 euros. And then like the other 5 of us, came in the other 200 euros, so it was, it definitely went up according to your age. But it was really good value for money from our perspective. OLP is saying 62 is to get your social security money, but insurance is 65. We've also got Sauro saying we have some pills cost $700 in Portugal, and the same cost is 68 euros.
Oh yeah, so our friends that she's on the show with me, her husband had a heart attack, and so he moved here because if he continued his job, he's a pharmacist, and if he continued his job, he would probably continue to have heart attacks and definitely wouldn't be here. So they said, that's it, we're selling, we're moving. He was already almost to Social Security age anyway, so, and then she just hit it as well. So she's like, it's really the option of not being around at all, or, going ahead and moving. So she kind of did everything. And before he got a doctor here, he went to the pharmacy and said, hey, I need these heart pills. And the pharmacist was so kind and said, oh, clearly we can give you that without a prescription, because that's not something you would ask for unless truly needed that. I mean, nobody goes to the pharmacist and says, got some heart pills. So the prescription cost, even cash, like at home, he was paying hundreds, and here it was just a slither of it. And then once he got the prescription, it was even a sliver of that. Like, it's just ridiculous the amount of money people pay in the States for meds. And I look at mine and giggle, some of the name brand, a Pfizer, a medicine that I take now, was, I don't know what it is in the States, but I laugh. It says Pfizer and it's $5 on it. And it's enough for like 6 months. So
yes. Yeah. I mean, it's amazing, isn't it?
That's the cash price if you walked up and got it, whether you're with healthcare or not. And everybody does get put onto the public healthcare system. So you can also show that number, and the government's negotiated health prices down. And so it's just amazing. When you hear people saying that America pays for the drugs of the world, they do. You're shouldering the burden and the profits for places around the world. I had a friend that just went across to Spain to get birth control pills. They're $3, no prescription needed.
Yeah. It's amazing how much I've heard. Like, I interviewed somebody recently who had, who moved their parents over because the cost of all the drugs in America were just exorbitant, and it was just going to bankrupt them all, really. And I also do hear that sometimes Europeans, if they get really, really poorly, like we house sat early on in 2018 for a French English couple, and he got cancer, and it was actually better value for him to go back to France, I think, to have his treatment. But it is worth really like looking around at your situation, because I do think, from what we've heard, and obviously Veronica's just shared, it costs so much more in America for everything. So it's a huge bonus, isn't it? We got so many comments coming in. We really
I just glanced at a glass third bottle in the evening here.
Yeah, that's Amelie Kelly. I don't know where you're listening to us from, Amelie, but I've seen you around in the chat room. Mrs. M, glad I'm not the only one drinking a glass of red for medicinal purposes only. Yeah, I've actually got the bottle here. Carl has had a couple of glasses himself. I'm not going to do the whole thing on my own, but
who else has some? We should have give us a thumbs up if you're going to drink a glass of wine with us.
Yeah, let us know.
If it's in the morning, that might be a little gross.
Yeah, well,
there's somewhere like Hawaii. Because Hawaii's even 5 hours before California.
Yeah, we'll come back to some of these comments later. So, I just really want to hear more about Veronica's journey. So when you arrived here, what was your first, obviously you've been around Europe, you're well-traveled. I think it's great that, you grew up in a wanderlust family. It's funny, when I was talking with Josh and Kaylee, they both, I know, they're so lovely, aren't they? From expats everywhere. They both grew up with quite sort of like traveling based families, like Kaylee's parents, for instance. She was telling me about how she went on trips just like you did and with your sister. But what was it like when you arrived and you put your key in the door for the first time and you were like, oh, this is my new home? Like, what did you go through?
Yeah, so obviously that was temporary. I was on an 8-month lease and knew I needed to find either a longer term rental or a house to buy, which I'm a nester. I wanted to buy a house and know I had a place to live, which was good because now things have really gone up in price. But I walked into it and I remember thinking, it's kind of a random thought, like, oh, thank goodness, this is exactly like it was pictured. This is so pretty.
That's good, isn't
nice.
It?
This is going to be my little like hiding away as I'm mourning. And I knew that it was kind of a touristy town, so it would roll up in the winter. And September, October, by October, you're really, it's beautiful and it's nice. But then by November, December, it's really closed. And I remember thinking, this is going to be okay. Like, this is going to be okay. And I, when you're going through mourning and at home, you have so much support, but everybody wants to do something, and everybody wants to help. And I remember when my husband passed away and my girlfriends rallied and they called everybody and everybody, like, nobody knows what to do. And they've all brought gifts and wine and they're all at the house like it's a party, and you're like, it's such a weird, uncomfortable thing that nobody knows what to do or what to behave. So then once a lot of this was over, it's kind of that time where, this is going to sound really lame, but you feel like a host at the funerals. Right. Everybody wants to come say hello. It's like, the wedding line when you get married and everybody has to come. It's exhausting and you're sad and you're trying to process and you still have to feel like I can't be mean to people. And by the time I got here, I was just exhausted.
Yeah.
And I think some people have to rally and have people around all the time, but I think I just kind of went, okay. And you just hide in bed for a week. And then being right across the street from the beach, going on those walks and healing. Not to say that was, all the healing's even done, but going through that phase. And then as winter hit and it was darker and cold, it just kind of fit. But I knew that Portugal was right. I did know that Portugal was right and that I was still moving forward with our dream and my husband was with me and he was still doing this dream together with me. Even if he wasn't personally there, he was there in, vibration, spirit, whatever you want to call it. He was there.
Yeah.
And it was right. And you go back and forth. Like you say, I didn't have the instant honeymoon period because I was in a weird state. But when I start, coming out of your little cocoon a little bit, and I joined the Rotary, and I made friends and lost myself in service and did some unique things, then I finally started getting out traveling a little bit and doing the day trips, because I needed, I was on a timeline. I needed to know where I wanted to live, and getting into that process. And driving around and looking around, and it's just so beautiful and gorgeous. And you're going, okay, I think I did the right thing. And then now, over 5 years later, in hindsight, I absolutely did the right thing. Because staying home, I think you could get lost in this little cocoon of, kind of not pity, but it just happened at such a transitory time. That it wasn't normal. It wasn't, there were so many things going on that I think I would have really felt lost, with having the house sold, my husband gone, and then having nowhere to go. What do? You buy another house there. At least we had these plans set.
Yeah. Yeah. So you've been here 5 years now. And or coming up 6, or you're in your 6th year.
I think that's what you say. We're in our 6th year.
Yeah, we are, aren't we? Because you've just had your 6th winter. We've just had ours, so you must have had yours. How has life changed in terms of like your expectations and things? Because how easy is it to build a new life in Portugal? Because like one of the things that I think people think that when they come over, that they, within a year they've built their new life and they're all settled. And I guess some are, but from our experience, it's only really in this last year that we've actually felt like everything started to piece together. We've had quite like random moments, moving around and stuff. And it's only in this last year or so that we've really sort of felt like we've caught up. It's almost felt like we've been slightly in not trauma, but like a little bit of not PTSD, but almost like this feeling of shock sometimes, because there's so many new experience. Boom, 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 boom. It takes a while, or it's taken us a while for our bodies and minds to really catch up with where we are. Like how easy has it been for you to start over and feel like you've created a new life for yourself?
Well, I think this past year and 2 years has really been like aha. And I know COVID was so daunting for most people, right? COVID was, what are we going to do? And it was a hard lockdown here. For those of you that don't know, it was a real lockdown.
Yeah,
it was like you were not allowed to leave your house unless you were going to the doctor, the grocery store, the pharmacist. There were people going to work that were allowed to work. They tried to get everybody working remote. Some lady left her office and sat in her car eating lunch just to get out of the office, and they ticketed her. It's like you were allowed to be from home to work, and she just wanted to be outside the office. And so during that time, a new purpose kind of emerged, because Caldwell Banker Global Luxury reached out and tried to recruit me. And I'm like, I don't want to do real estate. I don't want to sell real estate. But yet I have a California real estate license. I trained real estate agents. I trained Caldwell Banker real estate agents. It just kind of, my friend said, well, what else are you doing? Like, you're sitting at home during lockdown. And I said, you're right. So I got involved with that, and I saw all these holes, and made more videos, because I was doing some journalism with travel, which you can't travel. And so I kind of switched what I was doing from a travel world to a living in Portugal world, why I like it, some digital media stuff. And this popped up at that same time. And now it's kind of grown into this helping people transition. Before they get to a real estate agent, they'll call and say, where should we live? And, we kind of go through a lot of this. I've built this whole network. I mean, it's so fabulous the way that YouTube works, that in helping people, now I have a whole community, and everybody is kind of connected, and I've become this kind of connector you know, first in helping people come over, and now the connector. In fact, I'm missing a party tonight because you're important. There's karaoke, cafe latte, and everybody's there. And I put it all together and said, okay, here it is, and got the table set up for them. And they give the Americans the best table because we tip. So make sure you tip, guys.
Yeah. Well, you should totally go after this. And weirdly, as you were saying that, I accidentally put this comment on the screen. I didn't mean to. I was just like, so he said, I got to spend my birthday with Veronica and her tribe at the 818 Club in VRSA in June. It was amazing. So like, you really are a connector, aren't you?
Well, it was really special because, as you know, he was there, and it managed to work out. And we just put out, we have like a group chat and just said, who wants to go to 818? And everybody's like, we're going to go. And it's this beautiful club overlooking the ocean and the river. And, you know, the beautiful umbrellas on a double deck with an infinity pool. And we were in the corner with these two glass, and I think there was a DJ, and it was like the whole of Portugal came out. And David was the guest of honor. So it was special.
That is amazing, isn't it?
That works. Yeah.
Totally amazing.
Yeah.
So you're obviously a massive connector, but you're not a big drinker, because I've been sipping my wine all the way through, and you haven't even touched yours, Mrs.
I'm guilty. This is my first day after my no alcohol. I can already feel it. My face is flushing. It's amazing how you don't drink for a while, and then your body kind of goes, wow, that's a lot of alcohol. Like, I'm going to save money now. I saw my water. I'm like,
I just had to fish out a little fruit fly from mine. I don't know how it found it. Right, let's see what everyone else is saying, because there's so many people.
Yeah, let's say hello to everybody. I'm sorry, you guys, it's so deep. You started right in with the deep, but it's a happy ending. There's so many lovely people here, and these past 2 months, there's a ton coming through. Whether they're going to Tavira or Private Air or, you know, anywhere else in the Algarve, they're reaching out, and we're getting to meet so many cool people and connect people, and it's been fun.
If I miss your comment, please forgive me. Okay, I'm not as good as Carl in these respects, but I'm going to try and so we've got Carpe Diem saying, if you don't do it, there will always be that what if. Same here, ex-military, and bit the bullet and just did it. Luckily before Brexit, though. I mean, we were very fortunate that we came in before Brexit as well. That's definitely made it easier for us.
Yeah.
When we speak to Brits now coming over, and we see the sort of hassles that they have to go through, it's like, ooh. We were very, very lucky.
That line, if you don't do it, there'll just be a big what if.
Yeah, like if you don't do it, you'll always be left with that what if. You know, I wonder what would have happened if.
Yeah, and we can hike and bike and climb now, and you can always go back. Like you know, not that I want to, but there's flights. The airplane goes both ways.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and you know, like I think one thing with migration, people think they have to stay forever and ever, and they don't. I know people that like hop from country to country. They'll stay in a country for a few years and then move on somewhere else. I know quite a few people. Yeah. I mean, I've lived in 5 countries now.
And what are the 5 countries you've lived in?
I've lived all over the UK. I lived in France for 5 years. I lived in Indonesia. I had a brief spell living in Italy, a brief spell in Ireland, and this is the 5th. You know, and I've moved around. I just haven't stopped moving. So this is the longest I've stayed anywhere really for a really long time. It feels great. It feels really good. Now, Newbienet is saying, see how cool Veronica is, such a role model of kindness and strength. Plus,
I love you. Would you get over here already?
Yeah, I mean, Newbienet.
At least come visit, girlfriend.
So OLP is saying, hi, Veronica from Oregon.
Hi.
Portuglish is chatting. He chats.
We like Portuglish.
So we've had a look at David's comment. Ronnie, you're incredible. Setting up our man cave links. Portuglish.
So they can do the wine.
Yeah. They do the man cave on a Friday night. Now the Saudade life. Bodad, everyone. Currently on the East Coast, USA, Boston. Great show this morning, ladies. You too, Carl. He'll be happy about that. OLP is, we are Linda and Lewis. We would be very glad to meet up, Veronica.
Absolutely.
Well, Linda and Lewis, we'd love to meet you too. So you'll have to let us know when you're over. Amelie's saying, I just had my 65th birthday. Well, happy birthday. I've been an expat for years. elsewhere and decided not to sign up for Medicare because it's lots of money, and am with Nuno from Win Insurance and MGen, just like we are.
So can we say to that point, even though you are given free healthcare when you're retired, you still have to pay? It's not free.
Yeah. And also, I mean, I actually quite like paying a little bit extra to get the extras that you get. You know, like when you get like the free healthcare, you get what you're given, don't you? And I like to sometimes build a little bit of choice in. And I guess it's more affordable here than in America, isn't it?
Can I give a quick point?
Sure.
So one thing that I learned is I was paying the 500 year, which is about 50 a month, a little less than that, right?
Yeah.
Math, 12's math. Okay, so 500 divided by 12, whatever. So I could have my easy healthcare, and they did such a great job. I thought, oh, I'm not planning on anything else. And it does come, the next one up does come with dental insurance for a certain amount. So I bumped it up to the one that was just under 100 a month. And it was a good thing that year I ended up needing an emergency surgery. And I do have a video on that, on the emergency surgery. And I have the cost of the plans and everything in that video. But then the next year I thought, oh, I should just bump it up to the max. It's only 50 more. And then I'm just going to keep that forever. And they told me no.
Oh, no.
Increase it. Yeah, they said no, because you've already spent in the past 2 years so much more than I would ever put in. And so then I didn't do much doctor-wise last year. And then I tried to apply for that top level again this year, and I didn't. So if you do have the means, just buy the top level and keep it.
We were on the top level, and we loved the idea that we could get homeopathy on it, we could get massages on it, we could get aromatherapy and all these other things. We all needed our eyes testing, and we thought dental, that's great, you know. And we've got this lovely dentist in Lollet in the Algarve. He's a biological dentist. He doesn't advertise himself because people recommend him. So I won't embarrass him. But, you know, if you want a biological dentist that doesn't use fluoride and that is very natural, then just send Carl and I a message. And so we thought, wow, this healthcare is really great. And it really, really is. And where we're so busy, we didn't make any claims. We didn't get our eyes tested. We didn't go for dental. We didn't have any massages or any of that stuff. So we brought it down. And
don't have anything happen because you can't go back up.
Yeah,
but I don't know. Mine was through the AFPOP, the expat organization in the South here. So we have a group discount through Metal, who uses Allianz. And that was my experience with Allianz in this group plan. So, but the thing about that one was that I really liked is that it covered 2 months of travel. They're the ones that you see a lot of times when you're booking your flights. And it says, if you want travel insurance, then it's Allianz, French company. And what I love, though, is this year they said we're going to have 3 months. So I could travel for 3 months.
That's amazing.
I'm covered abroad. So I don't have to. I think that saves me a lot, too. Even though my TRICARE Global does cover me, it's 75%. It's strange. Allianz is the one they add on for your health cover anyway on a lot of the flights. So I don't have to pay for that. And I mean, it's just one of those things when you're kind of shopping around, ask your agent how much that might be.
Great advice. So we've got Pete joining us again. Evening all, just back from a lovely dinner with Cindy Vine. Just saw our own little hare lolloping on a track on the way back. Loving Portugal. That's so sweet. I love that.
Our own little hare. You mean donkey?
Like a hare is like a big rabbit.
Oh, okay.
I don't know what you call them. Do you call them jackrabbits or something? Or
I think we call them rabbits, but I think hare is also an American thing. We were doing that this morning, the Portuguese versus English versus British versus.
Yeah. And in England, we've got lots of different words according to where you are as well in the UK. I mean, you must have heard the difference between all our accents this morning, you know, with Carl Hyde, you know, with his Manchester accent, and like Carl and I from the southeast. Anyway, Newbie, so many bundles of fun in Portugal to meet in so little time. Speed up and come over, as we think you'll be a lot of fun too. I agree. So we've got a lot of chat going on, which is really, really sweet. Amelicia's saying she's in the suburbs of Lisbon. I wonder how long you've been here. And have you always been in Lisbon? It'd be lovely to know. Let's just see. It just looks like OLP. I had my red wine last night. It's 1:42 p.m. here. Do you know what? It's all right if you have some, surely, Linda and Lewis.
Oh, it's past lunch and it's 5 o'clock.
Yeah. It's okay to have a glass at lunch, isn't it?
It's okay for a glass at lunch. I used to have working lunches all the time.
Yeah.
And what time is it now? I'm trying to look at my computer.
I don't know, but Carpe Diem saying it's rude not to.
Carpe Diem, we love you.
This is just a bit of private chat.
It's amazing what 19 days does.
Do you know what? I'm already feeling a bit flushed. And I'm such an alcoholic. I've had like really terrible times of really drinking too much. And I normally can really take it, but obviously I'm going through a bit of a detox at the moment. Emily's saying, Veronica, my departure had been delayed several times. I finally had to tell friends that I couldn't say goodbye yet again, but rather I'd say hello from here. Now that's a really good thing. Like, you know, like it's funny, isn't it? When you know you're leaving and you've said goodbye to people and then you bump into them again and you have to have like several leaving parties. How did you manage that? I mean, it's just, yeah. Because like, it's strange, isn't it? Once people know you're gone, you almost want to just clear off and not have to keep goodbye again and again and again.
No, we had good goodbyes and good parties and all that kind of stuff and leaving before my husband really left, right? And so then the funerals, because we had a funeral in San Luis Obispo, California, and then the military funeral was in Ohio. And then so it really wasn't appropriate to say goodbye and goodbye again because it was such a weird time.
Yeah. We have got a really lovely comment from Pete here. Oh. I'm sure your husband is really proud of the life you've made for yourself.
Oh, he's so sweet.
Yeah.
He should be here. He's in trouble.
And Veronica, the way choice is rarely the right one. I don't understand that, but I think he's saying,
what's the way choice? Like,
yeah. What do you mean by way choice? It might be a typo or something. I don't know, but I'm guessing like how I'm choosing to read it is like sometimes, you know, the right choice is not always the easiest one. That might be just the wine talking. Okay, let's move on a bit because I'm never going to be able to read all these flipping.
If I can find a long-term rent, I can. There's long-term rentals. There was one, and someone just took it. Sorry.
So Amelie's saying it takes 5 years for roots to take a hold. Expats shouldn't develop false expectations that Portugal is the end all. It takes work to be an expat, find new friends and a new tribe. Yeah, I agree with that, Amelie. Like, I mean, in the 5 years we've been here, we've moved around. We've had something like 15 different addresses, which is a lot. And, you know, during the COVID times, that was a really strange time because we couldn't get out and meet people. And that's when both our businesses took off because it's perfect time to be inspired, but it's not a time to practice Portuguese. It's not a time to socialize with people. And so it's almost like, you know, we missed 2 years or 3 years of our experience here. But I really like what you say. I think it has taken us quite a long time to get, you know, like to feel rooted.
But you think today is so much different than 5 years ago because today there's so many like Facebook groups and there's YouTube groups and people are reaching out to me that I never even thought to look at Facebook 6 years ago for who's living in Portugal. And now you can Google, you know, East Algarve, you know, expats and, you know, Americans in the Algarve and Americans in the East Algarve and, you know, Brits in the, like, you can find, well, just because somebody's from your same country doesn't mean they're going to be your tribe either. Because there's people and there's very special people everywhere.
That's a really good point because when we were first thinking of moving over, like for about 2 years, we said, yeah, we're going to move to Portugal. And we had no idea how we were going to do it. And in classic Munson family style, even though we'd been thinking about it, we made absolutely zero plans. And all of a sudden, Carl was made redundant. And we said, okay, we're going to move to Portugal in 3 months' time. And we just literally got rid of our stuff, packed up our camper van, and then went. That was it. We really didn't know what we were doing, where we were going. We were, haphazard about it. And I think that's just the way we do things. It's obviously not how we advise other people do things. We try and help them a little bit. But you're right. Like when we were looking, like we started looking 2 years before, and there weren't that many resources to know what Portugal was like. And back then we went on in a Facebook group called Pure Portugal, Living the Good Life. And we would see like this list of houses, and it just felt like there were only these houses. We didn't know where to look, like which estate agents to look at, or we had no idea at all. And there were just a few Facebook forums, and that was pretty much it. But it was enough to stimulate, like an interest. But it wasn't until we came out here that we realized like so much has come up. And of course, you're now an influencer on Portugal. And obviously Carla's been hard at it for quite a few years as well.
Well, and so are you. I mean, you did one video and it got 350,000 hits.
Yeah, that was like a fluke. I mean, it's great. I mean, like Josh and Kate, you're amazing. Josh and Kate.
But it was they do a lot that have 2,000 or 3,000 hits. You went on there and you talked about we say brass tacks. Yeah. And 350,000 people said, wow, I want to know this. This is important. And so. Yeah.
But I mean, you're right. And you're right when it comes to finding new friends, finding a new tribe. A lot of people just sort of zero in on their own nationality or their own speakers, people speaking the same language, but they're not necessarily your tribe. And
I've found so many great people from everywhere. So I have to say, you guys can all do that. You can do it. You can, whether you're finding a connector or you become a connector. We had 2 ladies that came in and started pickleball, and that's been a huge connector because the paddle people and the tennis people are looking in going, what's that? That's a weird thing. And they're joining in. And then so you've got Dutch and Swedish and Brits and Americans, because your commonality isn't that you're an expat. Your commonality is that you're doing something active together. And there's hiking groups. And, I think a lot has changed in 6 years. I don't even think Facebook had groups 6 years ago. I don't think there were groups. I think they were coming out with pages.
Oh, maybe.
Yeah. So I think that's kind of, and then a lot of people are like, I don't want to do Facebook. I don't want to, contribute to this empire that they don't think is right. And then Instagram and, Twitter makes its way out, but it's a connector. So even if you don't believe in it, you can just, put, like, a lot of these people don't even have a real picture. You can put your dog or your, carpe diem, put the little metal thing. You can put that out and see what you can still interact and contribute. Don't be mean and hide behind it. But the bots are going to scrape your information, and a cyborg is going to be created in the future with your, avatar.
Yeah. Well, Facebook doesn't really like me, doesn't really put me up high at all. Kind of puts me at the bottom. But anyway, Amelie very helpfully saying, hey, folks, smash that like button. I can see we've already got 3. Let's see if anyone else does that. We've got a comment from Mark Parkinson. I've been a fan of Veronica since she started. When did you start your channel?
I started it during the pandemic. So, wow. We're in 2023, 22, 2020.
Yeah.
Was that 2020?
Yeah.
Pandemic. Yeah. So in 2020, because I was slated, I was getting out there, and one thing that's nice here is travel. It's, there's a lot of last minute cruises, and when you're retired, and there's cruises going out of Barcelona or Cadiz in Spain or Rome or Venice or Lisbon. And Lisbon, a few hours, and they've got free parking. You can jump on these cruise ships that are last minute, and last minute means 3 months. And I mean, you see them discounted to 200, 300, 400 euros. And so you're able to travel. So I had booked a 44-day cruise, so 2 22-day ones. And then the pandemic hit, and I'm like, oh, no. So I think it was then a big transition. How am I going to do travel journalism? Because my husband and I had a travel blog from when there was a year I was on retainer when the industry took a hit in real estate in the United States. That was 2006, 7, 8. So they put me on retainer for a year. They paid me $10,000 a month to do nothing. And so we traveled. We went. My husband was, military stuff. So we went to Australia, Italy. We traveled all over the place, and we started a travel blog. And so that was in 2007, and that's when blogging was really new. And there was like blog space or Blogger. I can't remember what it was, but we were trying to find cafes that even had internet, and we'd upload what I put on my big computer. And I had a plug in my car where I could actually plug in my computer, because you didn't want to plug your computer into your American plug into the European plugs, because it's 220 versus 110. Yeah. And so I would do it in the car. Anyway, long story short is, I have no idea what my point is. More wine, please.
We should have started a bit earlier, or maybe a bit later, and gone like totally after hours.
But
so anyway, Mark was
very in tapas.
He's been
very in tapas.
He's been a fan of you since you started, and I was focusing on my research for VRSA, which is Villarreal San Antonio. Is that right?
Villarreal de Santo Antonio. So the royal village of Saint Anthony. So Santo Antonio, and this is what faces Spain behind me right here, and it's, of course, built to look strong and royal towards Spain. So this looks out the Guadiana River to Spain, and right out my window in front of me is the ferry to Spain. So it's literally 9 minutes. And what he's saying is, take the ferry across the way that's in a lot of my videos, and you just spend the day having some tapas and shopping.
Sounds great.
Sangria, and then you hop the ferry back. And that 9 minutes on the water is magical. There's something about getting on the water. I love spend hours on it, just a ferry.
We lived south of Lisbon for about 9 months and loved it. And we would get the ferry from Castilhas to Lisbon, and it was just fantastic. Just like getting on the water, it just feels like you're doing something. It's wonderful.
Yes. Yeah. How long is that ferry?
Oh, not very long at all. I can't really remember, because we always were fighting young kids. Like at that point, I was pregnant. I was just pregnant, and I had a 2-year-old and a 5-year-old. So you can imagine what it's like. We had like so I never.
My kids are 18 months apart, so I was there.
Yeah, but I mean, we never really got conscious of how long that journey is, and maybe someone that's listening from Lisbon can let us know. Maybe Amelie, but. There were always lots of Portuguese people getting ready to pat the heads of our kids, because they love kids so much. So, I was still slightly embarrassed, because we'd only been in the country for less than a year. And, I wasn't quite sure, if our kids were being a nuisance or not. But in Portuguese standards, they kind of like kids being a bit of a nuisance. They like
the children. They love children.
But of course, but in Britain, it's really the opposite. That's my experience. Is like, if you go out, if people hear your kids, they're like, like really frowning at you. So I was still in that slightly embarrassed phase, but it's all very good. So anyway, OLP is saying we're looking forward to meeting you all. That's good. Sarah is saying, if I can find a long-term rent, I can be there next week. Another question is, do you have a tax expert in Algarve for US taxpayers? Now, this is an interesting one, because I've actually only just put in my tax return. Literally finished it about 6 o'clock today, and it feels very grown up, but very, very scary. And it's taken Mr. M and I quite a long time to find somebody to guide us through the process. In fact, we'd like to partner up with a really forward-thinking local tax expert that can, I don't know, do accounts and tax in the way that Americans and Brits and other expats might like it. We found the accountancy situation to be really wanting here. What's your experience?
I was very fortunate, because I met somebody who put me in touch with my real estate attorney, and my real estate attorney put me in touch with a great chartered accountant, and he's been fabulous. I have videos of him, and I took the videos down actually because he was getting too many clients, and he's hired more staff. Because when you're good, this happens. The same with my attorney. He's so good that he's busy, and he's phenomenal. So if you're signed up to my MailChimp and my resource sheets, his contact's on there, and that's Miguel. And I have a video with him, how he explains, how things work for Americans. And one of the things he said was quite profound. He says, just because somebody knows how things work here, they may not necessarily know how it works for Americans and expats. And so getting the NIF, because in one of my chat rooms, someone had said, I tried to get a NIF, and they said that they had to make an appointment, and the appointments were closed because of COVID, so we couldn't get there. And I'm like, I reached out to my guy, and I'm like, I thought everything was online. And Miguel says, yeah, it's online. He says, everybody tries to do something they're not a specialist at.
Yes.
And so you need to find someone who specializes it, and they need to specialize in, for my world, American in Portugal, because our tax status is different than, let's say, an EU person that's come over, because the NHR is different. And we have a dual taxation treaty as well that's different. So I would say use my Miguel. And some things have changed. So Social Security taxation may be different, because when they changed the NHR from the non-habitual residency, where people from Europe were not paying any taxes at all if they moved to Portugal for 10 years, that they
really? I don't know that. Wow.
Yeah, they were getting beat down by the EU. And so because Portugal's still taking more money out of the EU than it's putting in, and it's like, now wait a minute, these people from rich countries, from the Netherlands, Italy, from a lot of these wealthier countries are coming to Portugal, and then they're not paying any money on their retirement funds. So let's say somebody had stayed in the Netherlands and they're at a 60% tax rate. Let's do easy math. Someone's making 10,000 euros a month in retirement. They're paying 6,000 a month there. They say, no, I'm going to go to Portugal. And now they pay zero.
Yes.
He is getting nothing. And yet the Netherlands is counting on that retirement income taxation still. And then people are leaving and coming here. So then they changed it to a 10% for EU citizens. So if you were to move from, as of 2 years ago, if you moved over and became a non-habitual resident, you have to file for that. If you became a non-habitual resident during that year, then you would pay 10% versus had you filed the year before, it was zero. And so when you look at also the whole picture, that's where a lot of these, you get to some of these sites and everybody's just typing stuff, and the British and the Americans and the Italians, they're all typing things. It's very convoluted because we don't pay 10%. We pay in America our taxes, and we have a dual taxation treaty with Portugal. So generally, if you pay in America, you don't pay here, because in the EU, they're not paying at all. Now they're going to pay 10% here. And then when they changed that, it also changed our Social Security payments. So there's all these things, and it's really important that you talk to that expert that is an expert in your country. So maybe it's not an expert that's in Portugal that specializes in the British and the Brexit, or the EU, or some other country. You need somebody who specializes in Americans. And I don't get anything from my guy. He doesn't give me any money, nothing. I just...
Bless you for sharing that great information.
So, sorry, rambled.
No, that was great.
He had a long-term rental, and one of the gals just took it. As soon as they come up, they're gone.
Yeah.
But if you email me and just say, look, I really want one now, we can put out the feelers and say, if something comes up, we'll send you an email.
Yeah. I mean, Saru, my experience is it's really difficult to get a rental until you're here. And the moment you're here, it's like, being in the right place at the right time. It just kind of happens. But I'm sure, Veronica Veronica can sort that out for you in the Algarve. We've got some more comments. Pete has said easy choice is rarely the best one. So that's what he meant by
easy choice. So going the flow, maybe I shouldn't have come here.
No, I think sometimes, it actually, I almost don't want to unpack this in case I get this all mixed up because the boots are starting to come in. I think I'm much better just like reading these comments now.
So the unpack thing's a new term too. Josh and Katie said that. I sent a few things of ideas and some things that might be fun. He's like, wow, that's a lot to unpack. Let me think about it.
Yeah.
Oh, unpack, that's a new, or is it an old term?
I don't know. I use it a lot, but I came from a training background, so I'm always unpacking things. We've got lots of.
That means cool. I've gone someplace cool. I'm here. I'm staying in this hotel for more than a couple of days because I'm unpacking.
We've got some lovely comments here. So, for instance, Veronica's videos on healthcare are superb. David is saying, Veronica, I need to arrange another phone conference to cover a few new questions since we last.
You have my WhatsApp. Right? David has my WhatsApp. WhatsApp me. Let's chit chat.
Looking forward to visiting VRSA when my sister comes out in a few weeks. Might even get the train. So there's lots of people that are coming your area. Amelie has shared that she moved from Nepal. From 2005 to 2014, then went to South Korea, 2014 to 2022, and now here. Wow, that's really interesting.
My daughter was in South Korea. She was a Korean cryptologic linguist in the Air Force. So
I wonder what you've learned, Amelie, from moving around into so many different cultures. It's fascinating, isn't it? Where else have you lived, Veronica?
Because and where in South Korea? Can we put on there where in South Korea?
Yeah, tell us more, Emily. We'd love to know.
Yeah, we're in South Korea. Were you where my daughter was? She was in Seoul. And there's other places that are not so great.
Right, let's see. Saying goodbye, ladies. We're going to meet our real estate agent, so good luck there, OLP. Newbinet is saying, Mark Parkinson, her information, that's you I'm thinking, is so clear and important. Her free-flowing videos are great for showing some of the things you can spend your days doing. So that's amazing. You obviously...
Thank you for saying free-flowing, because to me it just seems like vomit because I don't want to edit all the time. So thank you for saying free-flowing. That is very kind.
Yes.
I don't want to edit anymore. I'm putting the whole thing on.
That's great. There's more comments coming in. This is more than I can handle. But anyway, let's see what we can do before we just have a final little chit chat. Anyway, the Stardad Life is saying there is a saying that goes something like, "Where you're from is not always where you belong."
Yes.
Find your own tribe.
Thank you. Yeah. Big kisses to that, because we kind of touched on that this morning, that friends are the family you choose, because sometimes family can be mean.
They can. Yes, definitely. Edmundo is saying good evening. Hello. Very nice to meet you. Amelie saying agreed, but finding new friends in new places requires outreach and putting oneself out there. Facebook is not a true tribe, just a great starting point by which one can make a true connection.
Correct.
Yeah, I would agree. You do definitely have to check out your contacts there. It's actually how Carl and I met. And I definitely needed to check him out for sure. And Mundo is also saying nice job. Then Pete is coming back. What a wonderful name indeed. I was brought up in a beautiful, posh and extremely expensive area. And there is so much more here, a much warmer community. Yeah, I know that Pete actually grew up in, or as far as I know, spent a lot of his life in a really nice part of the UK, and is now enjoying his rural life in Portugal. Took a long time to figure out that by the time you've achieved that goal, you have no time left to do. So do what you can now. I think that is really, really key. Mark is also saying COVID messed up many plans and changed many destinies. I would agree with that. Louisa, all of us want that accountant. So, this is obviously something that's a really big deal to a lot of people, is finding that really, really good accountant. So we should definitely find out your accountant's
It's
name.
Miguel, and if you send me an email, I'll send you a video. The video, it had thousands of people, and he really just got overwhelmed by the amount of people requesting his services, that he started hiring more people. But I said, well, I'll go ahead and take the video down for a little bit, and then once you kind of feel caught up, let me know, because there's that balance of being able to do what you do and do it at the great way that you do it, because once you send somebody too many people, it's too much. And then in my part, training the Americans and the expats that don't call them to say today and say my taxes are due tomorrow, where are you? Like, I had some people sending when my contacts were just out there, all easy to grab. One guy on a Saturday said, Veronica, I sent a rental contract to be reviewed by your attorney. He hasn't got back to me. And I'm like, oh, okay. So when did you send it to him, and how long have you been a client? And he's like, oh, I'm not a client. I just sent it to him today. And I'm like, okay, well, it's Saturday.
Yeah. Chill out.
Would you do this in America? Would you call some attorney you've never talked to before and demand that he reviews a contract for you that Saturday? No, you form a relationship. You call him, or you email them and say, hi, this is who I am. I'd like to retain your services. Where do I go from here? And it's like people come here and their brain just like Cindy, my friend, and Ray have said it best. Would you do that in America?
Yeah.
Would you, why would you disrespect somebody else here like that? So I'm trying to rein people in and saying, okay, just because they don't charge hourly and have a retainer up front doesn't mean you can just plummet them and treat them poorly. Introduce yourself, ask if they have time for a new client, and set up a proper appointment and go through those questions, knowing that you fully intend to retain him in the future. Don't use and abuse them. And I find that some people are doing that.
Yeah. You're a really classy lady. I really like how respectful you are. Because you're right, people do expect like an answer just like that. It's really outrageous, isn't it? Without actually forming that relationship. I mean, one of the things that I've noticed is wherever we move, we kind of need to find our knights of the round table.
Yes.
You need to know who your knights are. So you need an accountant, a good garage, you need a good bank, you need a good healthcare practitioner or doctor or whatever it is that floats your boat. For us, we always need a good health food shop. It's good to write a list of all the things you can't live without and then search them out and build a relationship when you arrive. That's really good. So go on. What were you
I
going to say?
just downloaded an ebook that I'm so excited to listen to, but I know I'll play it and fall asleep. I always do that at night. I put my ebooks on. That was saying that you have your table of the inner circle people.
Yes.
And so you said Knights of the Round Table, which was kind of all the sources you go to, but then your inner circle, like we go out and we have fun as a group, but then forming that group, especially as expats, that these are your tight circle that you can always trust and tell things to, and immediately get the love and comfort and resources that you need. Yeah. And I think you need to build that inner circle everywhere you go. You still have all of the fun, crazy people and fun kind of extraneous, I guess, more acquaintances, but you've got to build that inner table quick when you get here.
Yeah. That's really, really good advice. Edmundo is saying, I must give my business card to this lady. And then underneath is saying airport transfer. So
thank you. We have lots of airport transfer people.
Okay. Amelie saying, so many give different advice and or cater to folks are in higher income brackets. I'm semi-retired and haven't found an accountant familiar with that concept. Well, we're going to keep looking, Amelie. And when we find somebody in our area, we will let you know for sure.
But do they need to be in your area? Because I've never met mine.
Right. Well,
I send him everything electronically, and he does everything. He's done a lot for the Americans, other people electronically. I love that you're going to find somebody local and that you're going to support somebody local. Yeah. But if you need someone in the meantime, with today's world, like I said, I have done conferences and videos with my tax guy, but I've never actually driven to his office.
I mean, that's a good point. I mean, we want a local one so that we can just like arrange a meeting and see them face to face, and kind of do it. But yeah, you're right. You don't actually need to. I mean, if they're really, really good, they'll be able to communicate in such a way that you can just easily do it online for sure.
But taxes are what they are.
Yeah.
It's math.
Yeah.
Like, here's what you made, here's what your deductions are or whatnot, and here's what you owe. It's not ambiguous. It's 2 and 2 is 4. You give me 2, somebody else gives me 2, there's 4. Boom. It is what it is. Math is math.
Okay. Right. We've got Raj here saying, wow, amazing to see the chat of expats ladies in Portugal.
Hey, Raj.
Hey, Raj. Nice of you to join us. Veronica, not in Seoul, but in Gangneung. I don't know how you pronounce that. I'm not even going to attempt to pronounce these other ones, but maybe you recognize those places.
No, my daughter could, though. I mean, she's really a Korean cryptologic linguist. And when she was in the Air Force, she would come back home and, she was stationed in Korea. She came home and, she's got long blonde hair and big blue eyes. And we would go to the Korean barbecue stores or, restaurants. And it's so funny because they're run by Korean families and they would, point to, oh, hey, get somebody that speaks English. And here's my daughter, almost 6 foot tall with the long blonde hair and big blue eyes going, oh, come, so we da. And they're like, oh, like, oh my goodness, this blonde girl speaks. And in Fullerton, California, there's a large Korean population in Korean restaurants. And there was a Korean family leaving the restaurant. And they're so cute because they always do this when they laugh. This little girl, like this whole family just froze when my daughter just started speaking perfect Korean and literally froze. And the little girl goes, best moment ever. And you'll know what I mean.
Oh, you must be such a proud mom.
Oh, it was great. I'm like, keep talking. Ask them stuff. And they come to take our order. I'm like, I don't care that this one speaks English. Just talk to them.
Oh, wow.
It's
awesome.
fun.
Right. We're an hour and 15 in, so I think we should wrap this up. So I'm just going to read out the last comments, and then if there are any sort of like questions we haven't touched on, then we'll get to them. So Pete is saying, Amelie, I went to Kathmandu when I was 10, 40 years ago, and it changed my whole outlook on life. We were just chatting to Cindy, who said living in South Korea was amazing. And I think it is great to live in different places. It really sort of expands your experience and your perspective. I think that's fantastic. So I'm loving the fact that everyone's like just chatting amongst themselves. Raj is saying, I follow Carl always. I'm from Singapore, Indian, retiring here in Faro. Excellent. Amelie saying,
I helped did a video from Singapore. What was the name?
Raj.
Oh, no, it wasn't you, Raj. Hi, Raj. You're not too far away. Sorry, interrupting.
Right. No, it's fine. Amelie saying, Nepal changed my life, all for the better. I understand that I've got a few friends that have been in Nepal and it sounds amazing. Thanks. And I agree about the feeling of warmth and belonging in Portugal. I think that's really important, isn't it? Is how do you get that sense of belonging? So maybe that's where we can maybe end tonight's show. Anyway, Solar Life, this is Pete. He's saying, I went for tea at the palace and returned many times doing the Annapurna Ring and second camp. It's stunning with lovely people, but I dread going back as the past is a foreign country.
Don't go back. Why do you go back?
Yeah, stay here, Pete. Just enjoy being. One of my favorite sayings came from a nurse I worked with at Texas TX Medical Center. She had this posted on the surgery door for residents. Poor planning by you is not an emergency by me.
Yes. We say that every day, even on the highways or anything. Like, just because you have poor planning, you don't need to run me off the road. Just because you're poor planning, this is not an emergency on my part. I'll do everything to help you because I see you're like panicked, but plan.
Yeah, absolutely.
And don't you find some people that always operate in emergency mode? And it's like we have to switch to happy mode.
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, like when Carl and I moved over here, we really didn't plan. The only thing we really had planned was where we were going to land. Like we had a place to land, and from there we were going to sort of like travel around and see what happens.
But you did.
Yeah, and we also got and it was really Carl, not me, but he paid for a really expensive camper van insurance, which we needed because our camper van broke down. And it was so fantastic, this insurance. It gave us a hotel to stay in, a full board hotel, for about a month and a half in San Martino de Porto, which is where we're now living. And so it really gave us some time to get on our feet. We just wanted to like arrive and then find ourselves. But I mean, it's not the best place, but we don't tend to blame people when it goes wrong. So we don't make an emergency for other people because of our own bad planning. So Jean is saying, I worked with an engineering project manager in the 1980s who had the same saying on his desk. It's a really, really good saying.
It's really great.
Okay, so Sauro is asking, can you exchange your US driving license with a Portuguese one? Now, I know that Amelie's just responded and said, yes, there's a new thing here if you're under 60.
Yeah, you won't need to.
Yeah, we did a little video on it. We featured it on one of our morning shows as well.
Yeah.
Have you featured it on your channel as well?
Yeah.
I'll find out where it was, Sauro. I'm just going to make a note. And I will put a link into what you need to know about the driving licenses. Sarah is also
over 60. You still need to get it's different.
Yeah. So it depends how old you are, Sauro. Are you under 60 or over 60? That's the big question. Edmundo is saying, good night, ladies. Enjoy the rest of this beautiful online program. That's very kind of you. And Jean is saying, Sauro, do you have a NIF? You need to open a bank account. This is because Sarah is also asking, can you suggest a bank that takes a USA customer? You've got a lot of questions, Sauro, and I totally understand it. It sounds like you're really sort of like planning your move. What would you recommend to Sauro, Veronica? I mean,
well, you definitely need to get a NIF because that's your fiscal number. That's the number that you're going to use for your finances. You get your program and everything. If you're in the United States of America, you'll need to have a fiscal representative. So that's where I always say, get your NIF from the person who's going to be your accountant. I know there's a lot of them that are online agencies that'll say, oh, we'll just round robin you, any accountant that needs the business right now, and it's 150 euros. But I really think that you should have that business planning call. And for that 150, have that business planning call with your chartered accountant and have him get your NIF and then have your fiscal representation with him, because the country of Portugal will not communicate with you if you don't live here. So you need that fiscal representative. So once you get your fiscal number, then you'll either need a power of attorney or you'll need to be here, right? So that way you can open a bank account. The ones that Americans tend to like here are Millennium. So we just had, hi Liz, I know she's at karaoke tonight with my tribe, but she just moved in and she's here for a little bit doing her scouting tour. And I said, well, first thing you need to do, you're physically here, and go get your bank account. And she had a bank account within an hour and a half. And at the local Millennium in town, they said they're getting an American in there every day opening an account.
Seriously? Oh, wow. I mean, one thing you do need to be aware of when you do open a bank account is that you need quite a bit of time, because they need you to sign about like 20 sheets of paper, don't they?
Mine was like a mortgage, and I had to keep going back because they're like, yeah, we need this, we need that. I'm like, But Millennium, at least in my town, has been very good. They have enough expats coming through to where they're hammering them out. They speak English, hour and a half. And I told her, bring everything you possibly can, your bill from back home, your bills to show, like utility bills, bring your passport, bring everything you could possibly bring, be it on your phone, digital, whatever. She had her social security statements, all of that. And she was in and out in an hour and a half. And I had prepped her to take the whole day plus maybe more. And she said, no, your guy was on it.
That's really good.
It's fortunate. They're getting used to us.
I mean, that's the big change. I mean, we opened a Millennium account. That was the first one we opened, and that was about 5 years ago. And it was a little bit on the laborious side. And then we opened a Eurobic account each. And that took quite a while to open. but it suits us, the way, they work and everything. But we've had pretty good experiences with both of them.
And it was called Eurobank?
Eurobic. Or
Eurobic.
Yeah. But you don't always see them everywhere, I don't think. Okay, last couple of comments then, and then I think we'll finish.
Wait, one quick point. Another person that just landed yesterday, or today and yesterday, had asked, oh my gosh, how do I get cash out of the ATM? Do I have to go to my bank? Because they did another one that you can open remotely easier. And I said, if it's multi-banco, you can go to any ATM, multi-banco, and there's no fee.
Yes. That's really good advice, actually, because there are all these little pop-up multi-bancos, aren't they? And I can't remember what they're called, but they charge quite a bit.
Euronet.
That's it.
And Euronet. And if you don't push the decline conversion twice, which is on my resource sheet, they will give you the worst ever conversion. I made that mistake. I tried to take out 200 euros. So I put 200 in and I got like 130 out. I'm like, where's the other 80 euros? It was eaten up in fees and bad conversion fees. And no. You have to let your own bank do the conversion, or it gives you some horrible conversion rate.
Yes.
So yeah, you always say decline conversion, let your bank do the conversion if you are using an ATM card to access your American banks. And hopefully you have one that reimburses your fees. There's still a fee. I have Schwab and I also have USAA, and both of those, if there's a fee, they reimburse the ATM fee.
Wow. I mean, this has taken me back to so many nightmares. It's so much easier when all of a sudden all of your money is actually in the one country. Like, we don't even manage bank accounts back in the UK now anymore. Like, we're pretty much here. I think we've got a couple that are just like, we've kind of closed them down. But, when we first moved out, it's really normal, isn't it? You're kind of managing your transfer from one place to another. And of course, you've got assets in one place and you kind of keep your options open a little bit. And it's quite tiring. It's quite exhausting, the whole process. And that, like, declining rates.
I still leave my stuff in America and transfer over what I need, because I feel like I've got two different currencies, and the currency I was losing 15 to 20% when I first got here, and then the dollar finally surpassed the euro, and that was a time to bring more over. But the American credit cards are really good as far as the bonus points and perks and no fees.
Yes.
So I keep my American credit cards and keep American bank accounts so I can auto pay it.
Yeah.
But Europe doesn't have these credit cards where you get all the free stuff that we're used to, no fee and all the free points and double points and cash purchases. And I think you had the Tesco one, right?
I have no idea.
Like the Tesco, if you use it at Tesco, the Tesco credit card would give you points back for the Tesco groceries.
I'm really uncomplicated when it comes to money, so I've never had any store cards or anything. I do have a Continent store card, which I do use now, but it's taken me a whole lifetime to have a store card. Oh my goodness, I'm really complicated. I'm completely the other end of the spectrum. Amelie's just reminded me of something, Sarah, that you might find quite useful. Carl used to work in collaboration with Expats Portugal and still does some shows for him. They've got a program basically that helps you to navigate all of the questions that you're asking. Also there was something else I was going to recommend. Oh yeah, if you're like in your process of coming over, if you need to get currency exchange, and just drop us a line, drop Carl a line, and we can put you in touch with somebody to get your currency sorted out, because there's so many different things to think about. Last comments then. There's so much. I'm
clearly needed.
Yeah, absolutely. So Raj is actually Raji, an expat lady too. I feel sad to hear about the Nepal plane crash. Yeah, I heard about that. I haven't heard enough. I mean, I heard that there was a plane crash, and it sounds absolutely terrible. But anyway, yeah, I can't. I've looked and I've not found any news of it. But I heard about it from Carl. But it sounds dreadful. Amelie's saying the past is the past, the future unknown, and the present is a gift. 100%. Thank you so much. Last bits then. I think it's just an agreement.
Euronet, which is Euronet.
Yeah. Everyone's just going Euronet down. Don't do it. And pretty much everyone's just feeling really, really great. So Sarah is saying thanks to everybody. So I think this is probably a good moment for us to wrap this up. Have you got any last comments that you want to share with us? Lovely Veronica. It's been a bit of a day today. We've spent so much time together, haven't we?
I love you. You're family now. Friends
Yeah.
are the family you choose.
Yeah, I can't wait for us to visit you in VRSA.
Yes, I have a guest room. Come visit.
We have a guest room too. So if you want to come to SMDP, you're very welcome.
Well, I'm going up to Lisbon.
Wait until it's sunny.
When's that?
I don't know. Soon, hopefully. Well, you're in Lisbon. When are you in Lisbon?
Next weekend, because some flippers developers came to town. I shot a video and they said, you've got to come up to Estoril because they're redoing a palace. So I'm going to do some videos on how they're renovating a palace and putting some units so you can live in a palace.
Wow, that sounds amazing. Okay.
Maybe you need to pop up for that.
Yes. Well, also, why don't you pop up and have a night with us or two?
I'll see if I'm allowed. I think I'm staying with her and I'm doing what I'm told. So we'll see.
Okay. Well, enjoy that. All right. So let's wrap this up then. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining us. Yeah. Good morning, Portugal. That's Carl downstairs. Thank you, Carl. He's just putting a link for you. Amelie saying obrigado and boa noite. Boa
noite.
Jean is saying Mentor Pilot or Blancolerio YouTube channels will ace good professional evaluations of what happened in Nepal. Thank you. I'll have a look at that. Yes, I'm very interested. Oh God, there's loads coming in now. Newbie, I'd love to hang out with both of you. We need a part 2.
We will.
That, can't we? Not when you have to miss out on a karaoke night or a big old cocktail night. Let's do it when you don't have to miss out. Solar Life, that's Pete, is saying bonne nuit and have a good rest of week. Sarah is saying, I feel myself close to Veronica because I lose my wife last September.
Oh, Sarah. Sorry. Big hugs.
Yeah, really sorry to hear that. Jean is saying boa noite a todos, so good night to everybody. And Beverly Maidment's been joining us as well, and she's just sent us a big heart. So thank you to everybody that's listened in. Thank you so much, Veronica. It's been lovely.
Thank you.
One last little chug of red wine.
Cheers, girlfriend.
Cheers, my love. Lots of love. Lots of love to you all, and we'll see you again.
Lots of love to everybody. Share the love, spread the love. Seriously, it's. Yeah. We're so fortunate to be here together, and thank you to all of you.
Beijinhos.
Beijinhos.